Hi, what's up, what's popping? Welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute here and I'm back, guys, with another awesome reaction video, and I'm reacting today to facts about slavery that we didn't learn in school. I didn't learn it in school. I didn't watch the video. I'm going in blind. So guys, remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. All right, so let's get right into this video. Bear with me, guys. I need to hear that. Fixed expert is taken from the book Black Unfold Facts About Slavery. Okay.
The instrumental use of the history of slavery today also underlies the claim that slavery grew out of racism. For most of its long history, which includes most of the history of the human race, slavery was largely not the enslavement of racially different people, for the simple reason that only in recent...
Okay, so I know that part where slavery was out of racism. I know that little part, so let's get right in and see what else is there. All right, so I knew about that part. Let's go.
Europeans, as well as by the peoples of the Middle East, for at least 6 centuries before the first African was brought to the Western Hemisphere. Before the modern era, by and large, Europeans enslaved other Europeans, Asians enslaved other Asians, Africans enslaved other Africans, and the indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere enslaved other indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere. Slavery was not based on race, much less on theories about race.
What? Europeans enslave other Europeans. What the heck? So okay, you know what? Let me get back into the video.
Only relatively late in history did enslavement across racial lines occur on such a scale as to promote an idea.
Hold on, I have to pause there. Africans enslave other Africans? Seriously? I did not know that. I did not know that. Jeez. Ooh, let's get back into the video.
Ideology of racism that outlasted the institution of slavery itself. Wherever a separate people were enslaved, they were disdained or despised, whether they were different by country, religion, caste, race, or tribe. In East Africa, the Maasai were feared slave raiders, and other African tribes, either alone or in conjunction with Arabs, enslaved their more vulnerable neighbors. As late as 1891, it was reported that Manyuema slavers had demoralized surrounding tribes, destroying crops, and famine reigned everywhere. Even in the early 20th century.
Okay, so there's this, I don't want to use colored, but this gentleman that I know is 84, and he said to me that Africans were fighting against each other, so tribes were fighting against this tribe, and he said that's how the white men came in and took the gold and the silver and took over their lands. Because he said he always doing research and always reading and trying to know more, and oh wow, I wish I knew this.
Abyssinians were still raiding other Africans and carrying off slaves. It was 1922 before the British had gained sufficient control in Tanganyika to stamp out slavery there. Arabs were the leading slave raiders in East Africa, ranging over an area larger than all of Europe. The total number of slaves exported from East Africa during the 19th century has been estimated to be at least 2 million. The form in which the story of slavery has reached most people today has been along the lines of the best-selling book and widely watched television miniseries Roots by Alex Haley. Challenged on the historical accuracy of Roots, Haley said, "I tried to give my people..."
Jeez. Wow. Oh wow. I'm listening to this And I'm like speechless right now. I need to find my history teacher from high school because I really need to ask her a question. What's her name again? I don't remember, but I need to ask her something. Trust me.
A myth to live by. This instrumental use of history, or purported history, is open to the same objections as other instrumental myth-making. Despite the impression created by Roots, during the era of the massive slave trade from West Africa, a white man was more likely to catch malaria in Africa than to catch slaves himself. The average life expectancy of a white man in the interior of sub-Saharan Africa at that time.
What? This is crazy.
Was less than 1 year. By and large, men from Europe or the Western Hemisphere came to the coasts of Africa, bought their slaves, and left as soon as possible. Even so, the death rates among the white crews of the ships carrying slaves to the Western Hemisphere were as high as the death rates among the slaves themselves. It was only much later, after Quine.
So, hold on. Guys, I have to stop for a minute. So they're saying that the white man, it's easier for the white man, I'm sorry for that long pause, it's easier for the white man to catch malaria in Africa than to catch a slave. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
And other medical measures enabled Europeans to survive where there were tropical diseases. Was it possible for them to invade Africa in force and establish empires there? But by then, the Atlantic slave trade had already been ended. During the era of that trade, Africa was largely ruled by Africans, who established the conditions under which slave sales took place. The crew of a slave ship was in no position to defy African rulers and their armies by going.
Okay, that I did not know. I did not know that the death rate between the white men and the slaves were like the same. I did not know that. If you know, let me know, because I did not know that. They didn't teach me that. So I did not know nothing like that. That's so it's strange to me.
Going out across the land and capturing people willy-nilly. The stronger African peoples captured and enslaved the weaker peoples. The same pattern found over the centuries in Europe, Asia, the Western Hemisphere, and Polynesia. In Nyasaland, the Ngoni and Yao swaggered over and terrorized other tribes. In Uganda, the Baganda made life miserable for their neighbors. And the Nyoro and Hima of Anko enslaved Toro women and children. The Tutsi dominated the Hutu in Rwanda, the Maasai lorded it over the Kikuyu and Kamba, and the latter, in turn, held the Indorobo in a kind of serfdom.
Wow. So the stronger Africans capture the weaker one and enslave them. Wow. I need to talk to my African friends. I have some African friends and I need to talk to them. I really need to talk to them. I need to talk to my African friends. Seriously. I love to talk to them because I want to know if they learn this there, because I have learned this in my country and I want to know if they learn that there or if they know about it. I really have to ask them.
It was precisely the fact that Europeans, except for the Portuguese, seldom participated in the raids that captured and enslaved Africans that enabled most people in Europe and the Americas to remain oblivious to the traumatic experience that this was, with some Africans committing suicide to avoid capture and wives being whipped as they tried to cling to their husbands or children.
They enslave women and children? Wow. That's so weird. Children and women. So they look for the weaker side to enslave. That's crazy. That's so crazy.
Historian David Breon Davis pointed out that Europeans had little contact with the actual process of enslavement, and that, as late as 1721, the Royal African Company asked its agents to investigate the modes of enslavement in the interior. Europeans typically saw only the end results, enslaved people being offered for sale on the coast. It was much the same story in the Ottoman Empire, where those who bought slaves had no idea what these slaves had been through before. The unique position of the Western world in the history, and especially the destruction of slavery, need not imply that there was unanimity within the West on this institution. In addition to whites who defended the enslavement of Africans on racial grounds, or who opposed general emancipation on social grounds, there were many whites, and even black.
Let's pause there for a minute. So when they were capturing the men, so the ladies and children, the women and the children would hold to the father, the husband, and they'll get whipped. So jeez, this is crazy. It's never too old to learn, because I'm just learning this now, and this is crazy. This is crazy. Oh man, this is crazy. Let's get back into the video.
Who defended slavery as a matter of self-interest as slave owners. Although most black owners of slaves in the United States were only nominal owners of members of their own families, there were thousands of other blacks in the antebellum South who were commercial slave owners, just like their white counterparts. An estimated 1/3 of the free persons of color in New Orleans were slave owners, and thousands of these slave owners volunteered to fight for the Confederacy during the Civil War. Black slave owners were even more common in the Caribbean. In short, there were many defenders of slavery in the West, even in the 19th century. And outside the West, slavery was too widely accepted to require defense. No other nation ended slavery in the same way as the United States did, and few ended it after so short a struggle, as history is.
So why is it that I did not know that it was both ways, that the white and the blacks, they enslave people? They enslave people. Why didn't I know that? I need to teach my children this. The small one, I need to teach her this. I need to tell her. I need to share this video with the others. I can't believe this. So it wasn't a one-way street where, oh, the whites, they enslave the blacks. They take them and it was both ways. This is crazy. And I did not know this.
Measured. How and why did slavery end in most of the world? There were two major processes. Over the centuries, as more and more territories around the world consolidated into nation-states with their own armies and navies, raiding those territories.
What? No. The Caribbean? As a Caribbean girl, I think I should know that, right? But I did not.
To capture and enslave the people who lived within them became more hazardous in itself, and also risked military retaliation against the countries from which the raiders came. Thus, more and more peoples became off-limits to slave raiders over time. Put differently, the areas which remained subject to slave raiding over the centuries were primarily those where the people lived in smaller or weaker societies. Such societies continued to exist where it was difficult, for geographic or other reasons, to consolidate large areas under one government. This was true of the Balkans, the backwaters of Asia.
Wow. I'm laughing, but I'm upset. Because I grew up thinking that, oh, the white man slaved the blacks. And I did not know that the blacks also slave the blacks. Your own. Jeez. I'm so disappointed that I didn't learn this at school. But this is crazy. Oh, guys, if you knew that, comment and let me know. If you didn't know that, then comment also and let me know. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the video, and share out the video. All right. Oh, I'm back, guys. I'm back. There's more reaction on this channel. All right. See you guys in the next video.